Diego, it's 8:50 p.m. News Central Raw Burgundy. Tonight's most alarming incident happened in England. A witness reports seeing a luminescent spirit journeying alongside Dorian Gray throughout his past. Lucky for the people of San Diego, we are the first to report this unimaginable story. A witness's report follows. It was eerily silent and remarkably still as the clock struck 1. A luminescent ray of yellow began to irradiate throughout Dorian's house, slowly proceeding up the stairs. A bright yellow translucent figure diffused through Dorian's bedroom door, continuing toward Dorian. Dorian abruptly awakes in terror, his voice quaking. Who and what are you? A rather slow response emitting from the distant figure. I am the ghost of your long time past. Rise and tread with me. Extending out a radiant hand, Dorian, quivering with fear, acceptantly grasps the spirit and advances towards the window. With the touch of my hand, you will be more than mortal. Evidently, Dorian seemingly begins to hover above the cold, time-worn floorboards, and together they shoot out through the harsh weather and London landscape. Slowing down, the surroundings begin to shift into a familiar room. The ghost inquires, do you remember this house? Accumulated guilt is felt through Dorian's words, yes, as if I were blindfolded. Suddenly, Lord Henry, Basil, and his former self emerge, sitting while Basil finishes the final painting. A remarkable masterpiece is shown in the distance. The finest portrait of modern times, Lord Henry tells Basil. Nonetheless, watching it create inner unhappiness within Dorian's hologram. Recalling Lord Henry's warning about the advance of age, he reflects that his portrait will remain young, even as he himself grows old and wrinkled. He curses this fate and pledges his soul, if it were only the other way. The luminescent spirit hovers around Dorian, stating, Is that regret I witness? His face undeniably frozen and overflowing of guilt. Most certainly not. Youth and beauty are most significant, he remarks. His words do not counterpart to his bodily reactions as he watches. He feels in the uttermost regret. Unexpectedly, the surroundings begin to shuffle around rapidly, reassembling a cheap London theater in the slums. Dorian's face promptly fills with happiness and affection. He observes as his shadow meets with Sybil backstage as a courtesy of Mr. Isaac, when she remarks, You look more like a prince. I must call you Prince Charming. Almost a tear is seen through Dorian's eyes. The time accelerates through, allowing Dorian to only catch glimpses of his proposal to Sybil, their good times together. Wait, Dorian cries out, allowing the ghost to stop at a former confession of his to Henry. I've become different from what you have known me to be. I am changed, and the mere touch of Sybil Vane's hands makes me forget you and all your wrong, fascinating, poisonous, delightful theories. The unfathomable words he spoke struck him like an arrow to the heart. Why, if only you managed to refrain from such a poisonous influence, the ghost utters under his breath. Meanwhile, a shouting of anger is heard through the city. As Dorian focuses through the distance, he witnesses ruthful words upon Sybil. You are shallow and stupid. My God, how mad I was to love you. What a fool I have been. You are nothing to me now. I will never see you again. I will never think of you. I will never mention your name. Those exact words struck even deeper within Dorian, the regret and guilt reaching out of his conscience forever imagining such words upon his love. The time evolves onto the next day upon meeting Basil and discussing the tragic suicide of Sybil. She passed again into the sphere of art, remarks the corrupted hologram. Basil is appalled by such a statement and the evident influence Henry has instilled within him. Observing all these horrid actions, Dorian demands, Get me out of here. I cannot observe any further, with the guilt and distastefulness evoking through the words he speaks. Finally, the environment becomes drastically dark, and Dorian pray is heard from Basil from laying his eyes upon the horrid painting. It is too late, Basil, and with hatefulness strikes Basil down. At the same time, Dorian strides toward the painting in the background to destroy it, when the luminescent figure covers him with the Victorian fire extinguisher. You cannot change the past. You can run from it or learn from it, as I did after I ordered the killing of your father. You must pursue change immediately and learn. With that, the ghost vanishes, and Dorian is left gazing upon the painting. My grandfather has come from hell in order to help save me from my accustomed fate. I must at once oblige. The picture of Dorian Gray is a profound literary artwork that encompasses the themes of corruption, influence, regret, and guilt. Wood effectively uses the concept of influence to showcase the malefic aspect of corruption. Dorian retains his innocence through Sybil's influence, prevailing when he states to Henry, I changed and the mere touch of Sybil's Vane's hands makes me forget you and all your wrong, fascinating, poisonous, delightful theories. Dorian essentially stunts the wicked influential power Henry possesses against him by affirming himself upon meeting Sybil, and his moralistic views have altered as a direct result of Sybil's innocence. Further progression of the story demonstrates his love for art instead of Sybil. Lord Henry's influence has grown so greatly that he begins to regard her suicide as a character death. As he states to Basil, the last night she played, she acted badly, because she had known the reality of love. When she knew his unreality, she died as Juliet might have died. She passed again into the sphere of art. Allowing himself to think of her death as a character in a novel or painting gave him the ability in deciding to not be emotionally affected by it. Lord Henry's influence allowed Dorian to surpass art's purpose of intellect and social enlightenment of the aesthetic movement and further into his emotions, actions, and life. The scene where Basil is murdered is to show the ultimate regret of guilt that Dorian commits that could be a possibility in allowing him to learn from the past and alter his perception. It is the climax or building point on top of all the other remorseful actions he has committed in order to attempt the persuasion. His reactions to the scenes are based on his feelings throughout the novel where he truly feels guilt, regret, and sadness. Finally, the grandfather was chosen to represent Dorian's past ghost, considering both individuals commit horrid crimes, eliminating people and affecting the ones they desire the most. Dorian's father as a direct result of the grandfather, while Dorian commits sins upon Basil and Sybil. This way they have the ability to sympathize together, and Dorian can learn from his grandfather's mistakes, including his own, to ultimately change him. Unfortunately, that's all the news we have for this incoming report. More details will be fed out as the investigation progresses further. We will now direct you to this week's incoming forecast with Sullivan. Thank you for listening. Central News.